And welcome into a weekend edition of Fourth Down in the Steel City. We've got games to pick. Oh, yes, we do. With our producer, Greg Finley, at the helm of our hot sheet alongside Josh Taylor. I'm Chris Mack. And let's quickly review the standings in just a moment, Gregory. But first, remind people that, of course, they can watch Fourth Down in the Steel City on the 93.7 The Fan YouTube page. But they can also subscribe wherever they get their podcasts and in your Odyssey app. Yes. Up above, you just tap those three little dots and then tap follow, and you'll get notified as soon as new episodes of Fourth Down in the Steel City are available for you, just like you may have been notified for this one if you're already subscribed, which we give a big hearty thanks for. But standings-wise, Mr. Finley, how are we looking after last week?
So we all had really good weeks for once, where we all finished above room temperature.
Yeah.
There were 16 games last week. There were no buys. And Chris went 11-5, while Josh and I both went 10-6.
All right.
I'll take it.
Chris has a 3-game lead on Josh and an 8-game lead on me. So
It's tight.
It's time for me to start being different. I don't care what happens. It's time to be different.
Okay.
You gotta go full Steigerwald, man. Now's the time.
Full
Go on Steigerwald. Just fade the public every pick and just watch them stack up, because that was like his deal.
Can you guys believe it's week 9 already?
No.
Where
Not
has
at all.
this season gone? I remember opening weekends like football is here. We got 17 weeks of the regular season. We're halfway there already.
It's evaporating right before our very eyes this season, like sands through the hourglass. Days of our lives.
I knew this just this fall was flying by when I realized, wait, we're in the playoffs for high school football already. Like it's motoring on past. So just try to keep up with it the best way you can.
We're almost to 2024. Like, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Whew.
All right, we will start with Miami and Kansas City, the 9:30 kickoff in Germany. Kansas City -2.5.
Kansas City -2.5. Both teams traveling to Europe. The Chiefs are having issues with their offense. I think some of it had to do with Mahomes being under the weather last week, but that was only a small part of it, I think. Like,
I would agree with that.
They are out of sync right now on that side of the ball, and it's showing. I don't know how much confidence Mahomes has in some of these receivers, especially Sky Moore. I think he's got his questions about. You see him, it's just Mahomes is having issues with his guys. Now, the one guy he can always rely on, Mr. Swift, Travis Kelce. Here, I'm going to provide an actual football-related Swift-Kelce note. The Chiefs have not lost a game that Taylor Swift attends yet this year. I don't know what the plans are for her to go to Germany for this game or not, but she starts the South American leg of the Eras Tour next week. Can you tell I've been working on Y108 lately? And with that said, she's going to want to get a game in before she's got to head back out on tour. Wouldn't be surprised if Tay is in Germany, and that means a Chiefs win, my friends. Give me the Chiefs.
That was a long explanation.
Yeah,
but it's 2.5.
It was well detailed, though. It was very well detailed. I'm impressed. You know what? Yeah, I'd like to think if anybody can probably bust out the laptop and figure something out on Expedia, it's probably Taylor Swift. But for reasons completely different than that, even though Chris made a very compelling argument as to why the Chiefs can win this game, I'm going to go back to this thing because, of course, Miami has, the best scoring offense in the league. We know that. They put up 70 points against Denver. Fine. Here's the problem with that, though. You know who the number 2 scoring defense in the league is? It's Kansas City. They're winning games with defense this year. Despite their issues on offense, they've been able to win games with defense because they're keeping teams limited. And even though they're not their sharpest or not this, high-flying, high-scoring act as they normally are on offense, they're still limiting teams on the back end. And they're doing it without Nick Bolton. And they won't see him until, the divisional round of the playoffs if he comes back on time from that injury. So all of that is something that you look at. The fact that they're doing this without probably, their best guy not named Chris Jones. That said, I'll take the Chiefs.
You guys gave a lot of explanations. I'm just going to say Kansas City looked horrible in Denver last Sunday. Patrick Mahomes doesn't usually look horrible in back-to-back games. Yeah. Kansas City -2.5. Look at me. Look at me not being different.
Way to simplify it, though. I give a big, long, convoluted explanation about Taylor Swift. Josh goes with the defense on the most offensive team of the last decade, and Greg just comes in and simplifies.
Kansas City looked horrible last week. They're not going to look horrible 2 weeks in a row. Give me the Chiefs.
There you go.
Perfect. That's a very fair assessment. Very fair. Not mad.
Here we go. Horrible slate. I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Ugh.
Minnesota at Atlanta. 2 quarterbacks that, earlier off air, Chris was like, can you name the matchup? And he named me the 2 quarterbacks. Chris, who's the Vikings quarterback again?
This week, before Josh Dobbs is fully ingrained in the offense, it will be Jaron Hall.
Jaron Hall versus Taylor Heineke. I'm taking Heineke, Magic, and the Falcons.
People sleep on Taylor Heineke. Like Washington kept making this mistake and sleeping on Taylor Heineke. I don't hate the thought of Taylor Heineke having this offense at his fingertips with the Bijan Robinson and some of the other weapons that Atlanta has at his disposal. Because Taylor Heineke, when he needs to, can make some plays in the passing game. I like this for Atlanta, not just because Minnesota doesn't have their quarterback, but Atlanta has a quarterback that if need be, he can make a play here and there. He will cut it loose. I'm going with the Falcons, even with the 4.5. Is it 4.5 or is it 3.5?
It's 4.5.
4.5? I'll also take the Falcons with the 4.5. They can win this game by a touchdown.
Yeah, Taylor Heineke also wins for one of the best Halloween costumes I've seen this week. I don't know if you guys saw it. He was dressed as a deer, and I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his wife, his significant other there were headlights where headlights would be
pretty good.
On a young lady. Good. And so he was a deer in headlights. Classic.
It was pretty good.
He got caught staring right into those headlights in the photo. In the photos.
For the costume. It was for the costume.
Yeah,
it was for the
bit. It was for the bit. Yeah, for the bit. But for
the record, this is a second game we're picking the team that's involved with the name Taylor.
True.
And it's completely, it's not ironic, which is great.
Yeah. Give me Heineke, give me the Falcons. Jaron Hall's a mess. I don't know why they're not starting Dobbs this weekend, considering they just
Jaron Hall is a mess. Has that guy ever taken an NFL snap?
Yes, his first NFL snap was a strip sack. So
nice.
Ooh, wow.
When was that?
Last week.
Okay.
When Cousins went down, yeah.
It shows how much of that game I watched.
More than I did.
That was what, Packers and Vikings?
Yep.
Yeah, that game was terrible.
Yep.
All right. Chris, you'll have to give me this one too. Arizona at Cleveland. Who's Arizona's quarterback this week?
Clayton Tune.
Clayton Tune. And the Cardinals are +8.5 in Cleveland.
Who's the other quarterback, Greg? Let's not give him short shrift here.
Philip John Walker?
Yes, Philip John Walker against Clayton Tune. Another scintillating quarterback matchup this week.
I need the Snoop Dogg meme. Who?
I said I was going to be different, but I lied because this slate's so bad. I can't just randomly pick the Cardinals just to be different. I have to take the Browns in this one.
Yeah, what is it? 8.5?
8.5.
It's a big number, but the Cardinals are a mess. Can Cleveland score enough behind PJ Walker to cover 8.5? That's the question.
That's what I'm worried about.
The total on this thing is like 37.5. Super low totals in all of these terrible games too. You know,
it's like Iowa, Minnesota numbers.
Seriously, it's like a Big Ten West slate. You're absolutely right. Give me the Cardinals to cover. I don't think they win, but I think they keep it close just because it's going to be an ugly ball game.
We ask if Cleveland can score with PJ Walker, but the other question I'll ask is, will Cleveland allow Arizona to score at all? Because that defense still is what it is for the most part. For that reason. Maybe for that reason alone. And Cleveland's capable of a big play here and there. I'll go with the Browns just because that defense can pitch a goose egg with this offense, especially
True.
with the issues that Arizona has at quarterback.
All right. Hang on one second. I totally forgot to fill that in. There we go. Okay. Chris, again, help me out. What's the quarterback matchup with the
the
wait,
Rams? The Rams and Packers?
Yeah, the Rams.
Brett Rippon against Jordan Love.
Yeah, baby.
Ooh, boy.
Possibly Brett Rippon. It's looking like Brett Rippon. Yeah.
Let it rip with Brett Rippon.
Uh-huh. What's
Look
this?
at Josh's face.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do with this. None of us do. The Rams, what are the Rams getting? 3 on the road at Lambeau?
They're getting 2.5.
2.5. Man, both of these teams. Jeez, oh man. Give me the Packers, I guess, to cover the 2.5.
If Brett Rippon wasn't playing quarterback in this game, I would take the Rams without blinking. But with Brett Rippon starting, even Jordan Love and the Packers can't screw this up. So I'll take Green Bay with the 2.5, and that makes it a field goal game. Even Green Bay can't screw this up.
Yeah,
not at home.
That sounds like a promise, but I don't know if that's a guarantee.
It's definitely not the Paul Heyman spoiler, that's for sure.
It's not the Charles Barkley guarantee.
Hey, us figuring out the quarterbacks in this segment, it feels a lot like who he played for. That's all I'm saying. We call who at QB. That's what we call the segment.
Yeah, really. I'll take Green Bay as well by default.
Okay.
Oh man, another doozy of a football game. Washington at New England. Patriots minus
dear
3.
Lord. I don't trust the Patriots laying more than a field goal. Give me Washington.
Whew. Okay. Are we to assume that Sam Howell and Mac Jones are the starting quarterbacks in this game?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
But keep in mind, Chase Young does not suit up for the Washington Commanders anymore.
Yeah,
nor Montez Sweat.
No Montez Sweat. So will there be any pressure on Mac Jones in this game? I'm not really sure. Can Washington's defense really do anything in this game without Chase Young? I'm not really sure. I'll hate myself for this later, but I have a feeling that New England figures this out somehow. And Belichick, I guess, based on those two trades, I can see Belichick coming in with some crazy off-the-wall offense.
True.
That he game plans it specifically because he knows Washington's defensive line is shorthanded. Maybe they run the ball 40 times. It just feels like that. Yeah. I'll go with New England.
Yeah, I'm going to take New England as well. But Washington's a mess. They
are.
They just blew it up completely. I did not think they were going to trade Chase Young. But
for a third-round pick.
Yeah, to the 49ers, a team that did not need that guy. Just ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm going to take New England as well. Let's see. This would be what? Tyler Bagent versus Derek Carr? Is that his name?
Tyler Bagent versus Derek Carr.
Bagent versus Carr, yep.
Oh, boy.
The Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. Saints minus 7.5.
Oh, God, that's a big number, but the Bears are awful. They're going on the road. Full disclosure, the Saints are my survivor pick this week. The question is just, can they cover that big a number?
Is Montez Sweat going to play for the Bears in this game?
Don't know. Question. That's a very good question. I don't know if he does, if he's got enough, if he makes enough impact. And yeah, give me the Saints. I'm going to regret this later because of the hook, but give me the Saints minus the 7.5.
Saints are due for a home win because 3 of their 4 wins so far on the road this season, which is very unlike New Orleans. They're usually pretty automatic inside that dome. I think they're due for one, and I'm with Chris. The Bears are an absolute tire fire. Yeah, and the Saints do have some capability to go down the field. They do have Rashid Shaheed. They still have a couple of receivers that can make plays. I'll go with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints.
I thought you were going to be different.
Josh and I took the Bears last week to cover against the Chargers, and that just didn't work.
Yeah, that was silly stuff. I don't know.
Made me question my distrust of Brandon Staley.
Yeah, that's
Done with
exactly
Chicago.
what it was. And he was still having them throw the ball up 24 points in the fourth quarter. He tried to Brandon Staley it.
That's how bad the Bears are.
I know.
That's how bad the Bears are.
That's a good way to summarize it.
I knew for a fact that when I picked it, it wasn't going to hit, but I just did it just to do it because I don't trust Brandon Staley. But
y'all know how I feel. I won't even talk about it.
Brandon Staley is Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno, right?
We don't talk about Bruno. Don't. I'm like Andre 3000 and be cool. Don't give me no gun. You know what I'm gonna do.
Oh, what a great
Here's
reference.
a quarterback matchup where we know both quarterbacks.
Hey, both starting quarterbacks. All right.
Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks travel to Baltimore to take on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Ravens minus 5.5 at home. What they did to the Lions a couple weeks ago at home. Baltimore is scary right now. They have figured out that they don't just have to let Lamar cook. They're letting Gus Edwards cook.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Baltimore minus 5.5 at home.
Yeah, I think you summarized it well there, Greg. They're starting to figure a lot out. They're at the point where with the new offensive coordinator, they've, to your point, figured out how to put it all together. I think they'll do it against Seattle. Seattle coming east for a 1:00 start. That's another thing I'm going to throw into the mix as well. That has me with the Ravens covering 5.5, right?
5.5. Yep.
Yeah, Ravens cover
5.5. Now, you mentioned Seattle coming to the East Coast. I'll point this out. They won in Detroit on the road. I think they won a 6-point game in Detroit. They scored 37 to win that one. Now, granted, they beat the Giants by 3 touchdowns, but it's also the Giants. But they did that at MetLife, too. This is a whole different animal. But they also went to Cincinnati and lost in Cincinnati. Greg, you talked about what Lamar Jackson did last week. I'll tell you about what Lamar Jackson does against the NFC. He has double-digit wins and 1 loss against the NFC. They can't stop him. And they're coming to Baltimore to play this game. If they were playing this game in Seattle and Baltimore was
totally
favorite,
different.
I'd say, okay, give me Seattle. It'd be a totally different game. They're going to Baltimore and he torches the NFC. I got Baltimore, man. I'm going to do this.
Yep. Yeah, they made mention about him against the NFC, and it's just ridiculous. He
kills
them,
the NFC.
Which makes me wonder why that guy doesn't play for an NFC team later in his career.
There were plenty of NFC teams that could have had their opportunity, and they all lined up to say no, thank you.
Yep.
They could have. They had a chance to shoot their shot, and they said no.
Yep.
So suffer the consequences.
That's all right though. You got Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke. I'm sure you're good, Arthur.
Woo! Atlanta good at Atlanta, right?
Yeah. Chris,
even without Kyle Shanahan, Atlanta good at Atlanta.
Chris, you're starting to sound like me about my hate for Atlanta.
It's just so dumb. Like, I don't know. That was the perfect deal. That man would have been a king in that city, and that would have been a match made in heaven. Him and those weapons, and Bijan and Patterson and Pitts, all of it. Geez. It was perfect. It was perfect. Wow. In that division, they would have run away. They would have won 13 games.
They might have been number 1 seed.
You get what you deserve, Arthur Smith.
Yep.
FedEx, baby.
I was waiting on that one.
Tampa Bay at Houston as we continue with our picks here in Week 9. Houston minus 2.5 at home.
I like Houston here. I know it was ugly against Carolina last week, but CJ Stroud's putting things together. It's coming in fits and starts sometimes, but that's a rookie quarterback. Against Tampa, against Baker, who's sometimes going to bake. Bake it off. Give me we're weaving this in and out. Again, you can tell I've been on Y108 for 2 weeks filling in. Texans cover the 2.5 against Tampa because they're at home.
How about we got that Bucks cover last week against the Bills in the final seconds?
Mm-hmm. Nice little backdoor action there.
I love that.
Nice. That was pretty nice.
Didn't even need the deer in headlights for that one.
Josh, who you got?
I'm going Houston for the same reasons Chris laid out on the offensive side, and I will also say DeMeco Ryans coaches this team. This Houston defense still has something in it that can actually, give you some problems here and there. I think they'll come up with a really good game plan to frustrate Baker Mayfield. So I like Houston.
I'm going to take Houston as well. I
said he was going to be different.
I wanted to take Tampa Bay, but I just can't. I don't trust Baker. I just don't.
Fair.
Wow.
Indy at Carolina, Colts -2.5.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it's happening. I had given up on it. You remember a week ago, I had buried them, threw a couple shovelfuls of dirt on them, but they didn't look terrible in that win against the Texans. Maybe it's happening. Maybe it's happening, and Carolina is figuring some things out.
Oh, I saw
home dogs. Home dogs. Yeah, they're 1-6, and for the most part, they stink. But Bryce Young may be figuring some things out when he's not being absolutely slaughtered by defensive lines. Give me the Panthers and the points.
I thought you were going to do it, Chris. I thought you were going to do it. I thought you were going to join me on the train. That's Minshew mania. And it's running wild. It's going to run wild in Charlotte. And Jonathan Taylor is like back to being Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, that's true.
Colts, let's go.
Hey, Josh. Choo-choo. I'm on the train, baby.
Let's go. Blake Gabbert didn't even play for Indianapolis, and Greg's on the train.
It's not the plane. It's not plane train, but it's the Gardner Minshew mania train.
I love it.
Now Chris is gonna get like some stupid last-second field goal and win it or something.
That's exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah, the Colts will win 17-15.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. That's what'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Carolina will go for 2 when it's 17-7, just because.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, the math told us to do it, so we did it.
Oh, Frank Reich.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've reached the point now where I just don't understand how this is a 425 game. I just don't. The Giants, led by Tommy, don't call me Danny DeVito.
Maybe. Daniel Jones might be back for this one.
I don't think that's a good thing, though.
Fair.
At the Las Vegas Raiders, led by who's their quarterback this week?
Aiden O'Connell.
Mm-hmm.
And new head coach Antonio Pierce.
Raiders
head coach, I
are
should say.
2.5-point favorites. I'm going to take the G-men and let Saquon cook.
Oh my God!
I'm really conflicted about this one because, like, all the logic says Daniel Jones coming back, Saquon, all that. Like, it doesn't make sense that the Raiders are favored here. But do they get we just fired Josh McDaniels bounce? Especially
they did it when they fired the last guy.
Right. Especially with Antonio Pierce coaching against the team that he went to the Super Bowl with. I mean, there's something there, I think, but the Raiders are still really bad. Give me the Giants.
There's a part of me where, like, I see an alternate timeline where Aiden O'Connell can actually, like, connect on the pass with Devontae Adams down the field.
What?
I don't know if it's in this universe, but I think there's a universe out there where it's possible.
No,
but I'm with Greg. You got to, if you're the Giants, you have Saquon Barkley,
right?
There's some playmakers on that defense that can do some things. Trust those guys to get this done. And you're a 2.5-point underdog. I'll go with the Giants, even on the road.
All right, we're all taking the G-men.
Still not going to be different, are you?
That's a little scary. No.
If Jimmy Garoppolo was starting, I'd go with the Raiders, but no.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not this time.
425 game of the week. Dallas at Philly. Philly -3.5.
There you go. This is a game. This is finally what to talk about. Like a game to talk about the quarterbacks in it. I like this kind of game.
Real quarterbacks.
Real quarterbacks in this game. This is good. I don't know what to do with myself with this game. This is like the 5 minutes after you had that first sip of coffee. Like, I'm good now. Let's go.
Especially after all those 1:00 games. My Lord, man. This is going to be a breath of fresh air. This is an impossible game to predict. I've said this to multiple people today that I have you could tell me any range of outcomes from Dallas wins by 3 touchdowns to Philly wins by 3 touchdowns and everything in between. I'd be like, okay, I can see a script where that plays out. What I will lean on is it's in Philly, right? It's in Philly,
Yes.
and the hook, though. The hook. It does. And that's the only thing that gives me pause here. But nonetheless, I will go Philly laying the 3.5 at home.
I'm like Chris. I've been going back and forth with this. Here's where I'm going to go against my better judgment. Because remember, I picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. Like this, let's remind ourselves of that. But you know who's got the number 2 scoring offense and the number 4 scoring defense in the league? It's Dallas.
Yeah.
And they're +6 in the turnover margin. If there's a team that can walk into Philly and give Philly a hard time and capitalize with some mistakes, it's Dallas. I think they do it here. And last year, the team, if I'm not mistaken, the team that brought Philly back to earth was Dallas. I think they'll do it again. I think Philly still makes that run, but Dallas kind of brings them back to equilibrium, and then they load up and go on a run in November and December. I'll take the Cowboys. Can't believe I'm taking the Cowboys, but I'll take the Cowboys.
I'm right there with you, Josh, because I think this is going to be a field goal game. And
shout out to Scooter Magruder.
And what Chris said about the hook.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the team that is benefiting from the hook. I'm going to take the Cowboys. I have a feeling.
Shout out to Scooter Magruder.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a feeling it's going to be like 14-3 Eagles in the first quarter, and we're going to be like, this could get out of hand, but Dak will do something to make it interesting.
Yeah.
He cooked last week.
Oh, yeah.
He did.
Dak cooked last
Here
week.
we go. Another game that has quarterbacks and another game that is worth our time. There aren't many this week, but this might be game of the week. Bengals hosting the Bills. Cincy -2.5.
Guess who's starting to figure some things out? Guess who's totally healthy again?
Joe Shiesty.
Yep.
There he is.
Guess who's always prone for just not showing up in a big spot? Josh Allen. So give me Joe Shiesty. Give me the Bengals. I think there's still work to be done by them to get all the way back, but they're taking steps in the right direction. And this would be like 2 or 3 steps all at once to get a win on Sunday Night Football against the Bills, to really push themselves back into the AFC North conversation, regardless of what happens with the Ravens earlier in the day. This is a big one. Give me the Bengals.
They went into Santa Clara and they beat the 49ers, and they beat them pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't just like it came down to the final seconds. They were ahead most of that game, if not all of that game, other than when McCaffrey tied it to make it 7-7. But the Bengals were always in front. And Joe Burrow just looks like the Joe Burrow. Like, when I traded for him in fantasy, people were calling me crazy, like, oh, he's hurt. It's like, he's going to figure it out eventually, and he's going to heal. And he's going to
be hurt forever. Yeah.
He's going to get the ball to Jamar Chase again.
Yep.
And they have everything clicking right now, offensively and defensively. And the Bills just have not put together a game where I go, man, Buffalo looks legit. They just continue to skate by. They struggle with the Giants. So I'm definitely taking Cincinnati.
Cincinnati looked like a complete team last week against arguably the best team in the NFC. Their defense looked good. Their passing game looked good. And guess what else they did last week for the first time? They ran for 100+. They got balance on that offense now. And when Cincinnati has balance, they are scary. I think that carries over. Also, there's that elephant in the room, too. Buffalo facing Cincinnati. There's that whole thing.
Yep.
They didn't do it during the regular season, and we know why. Like, that specter kind of hung over. And they met him in the playoffs and still didn't do it. I'm not going to believe it with Buffalo against Cincinnati until I see it. I'm taking the Bengals for those reasons, among others. But, yeah, I got Cincy.
Okay, we're all on the Bengals. Final pick, Chargers at the Jets, Monday Night Football. Jets +3.5.
Ooh, 3.5. Oh, okay. I
Mm-hmm.
did not go with the hook earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go with the hook here because Brandon Staley and this Jets defense, man, against Justin Herbert playing with 1.5 hands. That offhand is still all jacked up. It looks like the mummy returns. They're going to force him into a mistake or two. Brandon Staley will Staley, and the Jets. I don't know if they win outright, but 3.5 at home. Give me the Jets.
I'm adjusting my ring light so my aura looks orange. Hold on a second. Let me fix it here. There it is. My aura is orange. I'm bringing Chris in. There we go. You know I'm taking the Jets in this one. You know I'm taking the Jets for two very distinct reasons. And Chris already mentioned the Jets defense. Craig, what's the other reason why I'm taking the Jets in this game?
Because you don't trust Brandon Staley either.
There you go. Continue. Go ahead, Greg.
Brandon Staley's a hell of a drug.
More like Justin Herbert's a hell of a drug for Brandon Staley. Let me fix my light again. There we go.
I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take the Chargers.
Is this your just be different pick?
No, it's they made me look stupid last week, so I'll buy into it, and they're facing Zach Wilson.
Yeah, that's
Greg.
They looked dumb last week, Josh. They were awesome last week.
All right. So this is how they rope you in.
You got to let go of the petty. You can't live on that. You can't stand on that.
Khalil Mack and Bosa make it a nightmare for Zach Wilson.
I think they could. I think they very well could. I don't discount that. But I
just both quarterbacks are going to look bad at some point in this game.
That's how I feel about this too. And there will come a time when the Chargers have to make a decision that could influence the outcome of this game. And Brandon Staley will make the wrong one.
and
his own 20.
Yeah.
That's not an insult. It's just a fact of life.
Fact. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's not just 3, it's 3.5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
They're going to win by 3, and you guys are going to get the hook, and you're going to say, we told you.
Everybody's saying.
That's week 9.
It's week 9.
It's a terrible slate.
Well, most of it's awful, but there are 3 or 4 games that are like games of the year, all packed into the same week, and all in different windows. So from 9:30 until midnight, you could watch, if you just watch the best game in each window, you'll be okay. Just ignore all the crap. Like starting at 9:30 with Chiefs and Dolphins, then the 1:00 best game is easily Seahawks Ravens. Then the afternoon window, we get Cowboys Eagles, primetime Bills Bengals. I mean, that's a solid football viewing day.
You know what this is, Chris? This is a bar crawl in the afternoon. Make sure you eat early, drink a lot of water, and get a nap if you can.
Don't do the shots. Don't do the shots.
Exactly.
Pace yourself.
And if you do, stay away from the bottom shelf.
Yeah.
Stay top shelf, and you'll be fine.
Don't stay away from the fireball. Okay, because then you're just gonna wake up with cinnamon on your breath in the morning and shame. So don't do it.
Man who knows.
I mean,
all right. That's week 9. Back to you, Chris.
All right, Gregory, thank you for tallying everything on the hot sheet. He does a great job producing for us here on 4th Down in the Steel City. Thanks to Josh Taylor for joining me, Chris Mack. You know how to do it. You subscribe, you download, you listen, you rate, review. If you're on the YouTube page, you know you can tap that notification bell and get alerted every time a new video is uploaded to the 93.7 The Fan YouTube page, including full episodes of 4th Down in the Steel City. And just do it. Just do it, okay? Do it and stick with us as... Do it. And stick with us right here on 4th Down in the Steel City.